Once upon a time, the United States' influence in the Middle East was unrivaled. However, in recent years, a series of controversial decisions has put that position into question. Recently, after Iran shot down a US Apache helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz, President Donald Trump was compelled to respond. Yet his statement lacked the usual confidence and dominance he is known for. Instead, it carried a more cautious tone in dealing with the situation. Previously as well, after Iranian missile attacks, he had urged Israel not to carry out retaliatory strikes. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ignored that appeal. According to analysts, this reflects the current reality, where even the leader of the world's most powerful nation is unable to control his close ally, Israel. As a result, the limitations of US power and influence in the Middle East are becoming increasingly evident. Iran's new hardline stance. Once Iran's policy was known as strategic patience. However, the current leadership has moved away from that approach. After the death of former Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, his son Mustafa Khamenei assumed leadership, under which Iran has adopted a far more hardline and uncompromising stance. Recently, Tehran warned that if attacks continued in Lebanon, particularly in the southern suburbs of Beirut, Israel would face missile strikes. When Israel ignored the warning and carried out attacks, Iran responded with retaliatory strikes as promised. Trump in crisis because of a friend. Trump is currently interested in bringing an end to the war, as the conflict is becoming increasingly unpopular in the United States. However, his concern is that Netanyahu's actions could derail the ongoing negotiations with Iran. On the other hand, Netanyahu believes that Trump is making excessive concessions to Iran. As a result, strategic differences between the two leaders are becoming increasingly evident. Why can't Trump control Netanyahu? The United States has significant influence over Israel. The country receives around $3.8 billion in annual military aid from the US. In addition, several billion dollars in extra assistance have been provided in recent years. After the Hamas attack in 2023, the US Congress approved $10.6 billion in military aid for Israel. Despite this, controlling Netanyahu is not easy, as pro-Israel lobbying groups hold considerable political influence within the United States. Cost of wrong decisions. According to critics, President Trump himself cannot be absolved of responsibility for the current situation. During his first term, he moved the US Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and also supported the expansion of Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank. In addition, although he attempted to normalize relations between Israel and Arab countries through the Abraham Accords, the decision was not popular among the general public in the region. Analysts also believe that the US withdrawal from the 2015 Iran nuclear deal further escalated regional tensions. US image also damaged in the Gaza war. As the Gaza war drags on, both Israel and the United States have come under international criticism. Trump's continued support for Netanyahu has raised questions about Washington's neutrality in the conflict. China and Russia benefiting. China and Russia, both rivals of the United States, have gained the most strategic advantages from the Iran war. Russia's economy has benefited from higher oil prices, which has helped it increase military spending in the Ukraine war, making America weak again. Just a few years ago, the United States was widely seen as an unchallenged power in the Middle East. The fall of Bashar al-Assad's government in Syria, political changes in Venezuela, and sustained pressure on Russia were all considered strategic successes for Washington. However, the Iran war and ongoing regional instability have exposed the military and political limitations of the United States. Trust in America is declining in the Middle East, while the influence of China, Russia, and Iran continues to grow, according to several analysts.